And at the end of the day, Colby, this is your money. Do what you want to do with it, right? So like, no one can tell you how to spend your own money.
Yeah. So I think just taking a step at like what someone tells me and really assessing where maybe their statement may be coming from. Mm-hmm. Because when I look at comments like that, I kind of think like, you just watched a 60-second video of good acts, and that's the first thing that come to mind. It's kind of like, holy shit, like how far gone are you?
Mr. Colby.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're doing some interesting things in the city.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's changing lives day by day.
Yeah, Immeasurable Impact. It's a great name. I think it evokes a sense of philanthropy and generosity, and something that this city needs more of. And I'm sure there's plenty that goes unseen. And as much as I personally enjoy your one-off videos of helping people at a gas station or pay for their groceries, I personally really enjoy the follow-up videos with like Marcus or Yesenia and just getting to follow along on those journeys, and it, I think, encourages people to keep coming back and to keep up with the page. But you're a young buck. You don't see too many young bucks doing things like this. And I know it wasn't simply, to go viral or things like that. I do get the sense that you have a deep love and appreciation for the city. But tell me, what's your elevator pitch? Like, what would you like people to know about Colby if you were to meet them for the first time?
I would want them to know that I'm an emotional intellect.
Okay.
That would be the very first thing. And then if I was to be in an elevator and pitch like what I do, I would probably tell them that I run a company about building bonds with random strangers.
Okay.
And then go a little bit more into like what I do per se. But yeah, that's what I would go with. Yeah,
that's a good way to put it. Where did the idea come from?
Well, it came from a range of few things. So I'll start with just one element of it, which is the building bonds with random strangers. That element of the company comes from, it's an indication of my childhood, pretty much. Growing up, I didn't have a great relationship with my mom and a great relationship with, I guess, family members in general. Or maybe, I don't know if that's the right.
Or but did you have role models in general, or
I had role models through online,
and it doesn't have to be role models, but you indicated bonds with strangers, right? So were there strangers that had a helping hand?
Yeah. So it started off actually very, very young, right? So not having a relationship with my mom caused me to take on the responsibility of creating genuine relationships with other people, right? Outside of my house, outside of home. So it started off very young, where growing relationships with my teachers at school, skipping recess to partake in conversations with, my teachers. And then from there, even before then, like just playing video games.
Yeah.
Building, like I played video games. I was a game head. And it was because of like the love that I got from playing the video, because I was good at games. Okay. And so like playing video games, I got a lot of love. And then not only that, I built like some of the best bonds with kids on there,
Sure.
And so that's where I felt like the most love, like from playing video games and things like that. And so then I acted it out over the course of my life, just going out and building bonds with like random strangers pretty much. And so like, I remember even in 2020 to 2021, when I first graduated high school, I would go in like the Starbucks, and like I would come in like almost like every day. And so they would give me like new drinks to try for free and stuff. And so then over the course, we just, that relationship built up with them. And I guess I was like what people would call like a regular customer. And so then I think like by Christmas, when Christmas time came around, I bought like all of the staff Christmas gift cards. And so like I just been doing that, little by little over the course of my life, building bonds with like random strangers. I mean, that's even how I met my mentor. So I went through this program called Amplify, where it's a career development program. And so they had like this village launch, and the village launch is basically where they take all of the new talents, which is the young adults that are in the program, and they put them in a room with a lot of business owners. And so with the business owners, we were set to go sit at these tables with these business owners. And so who is now my mentor was there at the table, and he started to tell me a little bit about his background and about like I guess like his whole philosophy and psychology and his viewpoint on things. And so like I really connected with it because I never heard those viewpoints in real life, I guess you could say, because I took a 9-month course of self-taught philosophy and psychology.
Before that?
Yeah, before that.
Oh, wow.
And so hearing this in person, it was kind of like, oh, like this is not like I'm not the only one who feel this way. Like somebody else feel this way.
Was this the Jordan B. Peterson phase? Or did Dr. Peterson come after that?
He's more recent.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
He's actually more recent.
So are you talking about like authors or other podcast hosts that you were
for the 9 months?
Self-teaching?
Yeah. So I was doing. I was looking into Alan Watts, which is a philosopher, older philosopher. Yeah, you know Alan Watts. And then also Jim Carrey.
Nice. So a lot of things that you might see on social media too.
Yeah. Okay. So it was just like I was reading books too. I was reading Buddhism books too.
But I'm curious what the first thing that sets you on that path, because social media tends to feed you things that are in, that they think you might like. Mm-hmm. But like, what was the first thing that you maybe looked for that spawned this rabbit hole?
It was Simon Sinek. The lecture that he had on I think it was Impact Theory, the guy from Impact Theory.
Yeah, Tom Bilyeu.
Yep. And where he was talking about just like the school, like how schooling is today, and then it was also him talking about I think it was like he was doing something like your girl didn't fall in love with you because of da 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 da. She fell in love with you because you got her a glass of water before you went to sleep and stuff like that. And so then that led me to Alan Watts' video on about like love and stuff, where he was talking about like
yeah, he's got some profound videos.
Yeah, so that's where that started. And then
this mentor, when you first met him, kind of spoke of things in a similar fashion, but now you have someone in person that you can relate to and call to.
Yep. Okay. And it was just like one of those moments, like, oh, I heard this online, but I'm seeing it in real life. It's like, it's kind of like probably like what strangers feel when they see me in person doing what it is that I do. Because a lot of people be like, I see a lot of this stuff online or like in California, never here in Chicago.
Like, what's the catch?
Yeah. So it's probably like one of those feelings that I felt when I first seen them.
Well, I mean, in the city, like we're not we still see some like petty crime here and there. We still see people being held up, carjackings and things like that. And, I don't think it's wise to ignore those things that are happening. I think it's very important to keep your head on a swivel and be present in your day to day, and don't be mindlessly walking to and from, A and B. But that being said, after you initiate a conversation and you come to a point where their guard is down and they become vulnerable, and they get the sense that maybe this guy is just being nice.
Yeah.
I think even the kids that are committing these crimes, at the core of it, want to be seen and heard, and they want some type of love, right? And they're just not getting it where they're at. And by doing these things, maybe they're being seen and heard by the people that they want validation from. And it's such a deep rabbit hole of like unraveling where that stems from. And even when you identify where it stems from, how do you even tackle that?
Yeah.
A lot of people, there's one end that says like, blame the state's attorney because these kids don't stay locked up and they're not receiving the punishment that they deserve. And then on the flip side, you have people that say it is the parents' responsibility to be a parent. And then if you go down that rabbit hole, these parents are unable to be parents because they have to hold 2 to 3 jobs to keep a roof over the head and food on the table. So it's tough to be a mom or dad. And what if you're a single mom or a single dad? It's less and less, if any, role models for these kids to observe from.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like what I'm trying to aim for, because it's a loss of compassion, really, across not even just Chicago, the world in general, but more importantly, Chicago. Like it's Chicago right now is so divided. I think it's the most divided that it's been in a long time, or maybe in general. And so, like, I just want to serve as like a revolutionary to Chicago, pretty much. Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is a lot of pressure. It's a lot of people, like, and I was talking to one of my other fellow entrepreneur friends the other day, like a lot of people be looking at, like, I guess, like social influencers, social media influencers, and like they want to do this and they want to do that, and like they want to be just like that person. But a lot of people aren't, either one, they're not ready, or two, they're not willing to take on all of the responsibilities that come with it. Because some people think it's just like,
not knowing the responsibilities.
Yeah. And some people think it's just like going out and like giving out to random strangers, editing a video, and that's it. It's like, it's a lot. It takes a lot of not only discipline but responsibility and humility in a sense too. So it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, to have influence is appealing. And when I hear that, it's like, I guess, why do you want influence? Why does someone want influence? Because they want to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
So what if you were to continue to do this in the dark? Would the ripple effects still be there? Because the people that you've affected will probably tell that to someone else.
Right. Yeah. I think it would. It just will be at a much slower rate. It would just be at a much slower rate. And so that's just an indication on how, or not just Instagram, but social media in general could just be a tool. You said something about influence.
Yeah. Why would someone, and not necessarily you, but why does someone seek influence?
I would say either for validation and attention, or they want to be a leader, or they have a natural leader element to them. Like for me in my situation, it's kind of a mixture of those things. Like, I do want to be a leader. If I had to choose a job outside of like being a social media influencer, and if I had to choose an office job or like a licensed job, I would be a psychologist. Like, even if, and that's my answer to the question of like, if money didn't exist, what would you do as a job? It would be to be a psychologist, because just to have that effect on someone through just conversating that's like holy, like, you know,
it feels good.
Yeah,
right?
It feels good. And then I think that's one element to it. And then the other element to it is just also, I guess, getting that pat on the back, I guess, after a while, that validation. It's a very,
but and once you get that validation, you don't stop there.
Yeah, you don't. But for me, I don't know. It's hard for me to.
So like, and you've had several. Let's say in the example of going viral, you've had several videos go viral. After the first one, you're chasing that, and so does that ever end? At what point is it good enough?
I don't think it is a line to be drawn on that scale. Well, considering the things, it depends on what's your end game. And when I say I mean the person who wants to influence. It depends on their end game. In my situation, the end game is, well, I don't think it really is no end game. I think it's always going to be a need for positive influence across the world as time go on and on.
Yeah,
and on.
I mean, I hear it. I hear a lot of people wanting to be a public speaker, motivational speaker. They want to go on podcasts. They want to be a TEDx speaker. But from what experiences are you speaking from? Like, why should someone listen to this person? Why is this person? What makes someone motivational and inspirational?
I guess it depends on their experience. Like for me, the indication of it. So my motto or slogan, whatever you want to call it, is it's beyond giving. And the idea behind that is to create the bonds with these strangers. Like it's beyond just the initial charitable act. And so that's an indication on my experience growing up. Like I didn't have, I guess, great connections with my family. And so I went out to create these bonds with these strangers. And so I can only imagine the other people that also feel this way growing up. And then there's also the other element to it where I've grown up where people've done or left these indelible marks on me. For an example, in 2019, I believe, I was dating this girl and we were at Gibson's Steakhouse, I think it's called. And so I think I was like on my last few dollars, but I just wanted to take the girl out, have a good Valentine's Day, or maybe it was her birthday, whatever. And so I think the check was like $220, $240. And then the guy, he came over and he was like, your bill has been paid forward. And I was like, oh, really? And so then it actually ended up being a guy that was next to us. And he was like, I'm so amazed to see young people still going out on dates. And it's not just like, I guess, like hedonistic pleasure seeking. That means like hedonistic means pleasure seeking in a negative, with a negative intent, negative incentive, I guess you could say. So yeah, he was just like, it's amazing to see young people still going out on dates and actually, I guess, being classy, a traditional, still going out on like real dates. And that left a mark on me. It was like, this guy just paid for me and he didn't have to, right? And so that's kind of like, I seen this stuff on YouTube. And so like to see it in real life and to happen in person, that I think that also influenced me to do, to implement that aspect into my company pretty much. I mean, cause it's also times where I don't record my charitable acts, right? Like when I first started out, man, I was grinding. Like the whole January I was grinding. And then like it got to a point where like I was spending like a lot of money, even off camera, right? Like I was doing things for people off camera. I had to slow down because it was like, cause I still wanted to have money to create content. And so like I was in like a few restaurants and I was just like telling my waiter, like, hey, I want to pay for that guy's meal. I want to pay for that couple's meal. I want to pay for that family's meal. And he was like, are you sure what you do? And then I gave him, like my business card and stuff like that. But this was like when I was at like 500 followers, bro. And so like I just been doing that over the course of my life pretty much, like all the time. Like, dude, there's been times where like I was going through the Amplify program and one of the fellow talents, they couldn't even pay for their Wi-Fi bill. And the Wi-Fi bill is how they made money because they're an editor. And so like I even just paid his rent or his Wi-Fi bill, and just to get him back. Like I've always been like that one friend to take charge, I guess you could say. Like, yeah.
At the same time, it's like, have you ever experienced someone trying to take advantage of you?
No. And I don't think I would have a
It's like, you don't want to become known as that guy that takes care of everyone's bill.
Yeah. No, well, that was done in the dark. So like that wasn't highlighted. I never posted about it. That was just between me and the person. Yeah. But I don't think I ever had people actually ever try to take advantage of me.
You do this long enough.
Yeah. And they'll come around, they'll creep around, but I think I'll still be willing to help. Cause it's kind of like, if they need, clearly the person needs it for a reason, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, I'll be willing to sit there and break down why exactly do you need X, Y, and Z, and if I'm willing to give you X, Y, and Z. And 9 times out of 10, I probably will be. So, I mean, I guess it just depends on the situation and how extreme the advantage taken is.
With some of the, like, Target runs or grocery stores, like, are you kind of, eavesdropping, paying attention to their conversations of like, oh, I wish we could, splurge this week, but we're running tight this week on, budget and stuff.
No, that only ever actually happened to me once, and it was kind of one of my most recent videos. I was walking. It was kind of funny. I was walking around, and I was out of breath because I was pacing everywhere. And I walked past this one family. I think the grandmother's name was Victoria, I believe. And so she was like, I don't think you have enough for that. And so then I walked back and I was like, hey, I got $120 for you all to use in the store. And she was like, what, really? And the grandma, she was like, no. The granddad was like, I thought this only happened on TikTok. And so yeah, they let the kids get 2 toys, and I think they had like maybe like some baby wipes or something in the cart, some laundry detergent and stuff. I just covered that too. So
nice.
Yeah, but I mean, any other time, I just really go in and just
it's pretty random.
Yeah, it's pretty random. Like,
so I think that was, as far as reigniting compassion.
Mm-hmm.
You do have videos. I grew up in the northwest suburbs,
mm-hmm.
so you do have videos in Palatine, in Schaumburg, at Woodfield,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen the comments. People do leave comments
mm-hmm.
of like, why are you going to Woodfield in an
mm-hmm.
area where they might not need your help?
Mm-hmm.
But I think what you're trying to do is, I've never heard it like you said it, indelible marks,
mm-hmm.
right? But in the sense of, if they didn't need the money, I think it begets generosity. And so like they see someone being generous,
mm-hmm.
who knows if they might pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of along the same vein?
Yeah, because this is actually this one guy I was doing. This was like when I early started out. I was at like Cinnabon in Woodfield, and I paid for like, I don't know, like maybe 20 customers' expenses. And this one guy came up, and he was like, "Hey, whatever you just pay for them. Let me just, yeah."
It's funny because I forgot the name of the show. He's a comedian, but he got into those like Starbucks drive-through lines,
mm-hmm.
and he wanted to start a chain reaction of like, let me pay for the person behind me, and then he drives all the way back around the drive-through so he can be the recipient of someone paying for his
I know
drink.
what you're talking about. Yeah, that video been going viral. Yeah, and the guy didn't. He never got it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But see, you and I never got that sense from any of your videos. Like
mm-hmm.
you're not trying to get something out of it. It kind of starts and ends with you. As far as the video goes,
mm-hmm.
who knows what ripple effects you have caused in these other people's lives?
Yeah.
As far as who they give back to, and if they don't, they don't. But I think the act evokes that feeling in
mm-hmm.
in those people.
Yeah, and I guess speaking from like psychological aspect of it, Jordan Peterson had this idea of acting in a manner of reciprocity, and I guess that's kind of like what I led.
I mean, gift giving. It's just like, now I feel like I owe you someone.
Yeah. And so I guess that's how I act out my acts of kindness with, random strangers. So like, let's say, for the same example, going to someone wealthy, treat them as if you would want to be treated by
mm-hmm.
them, right? Like, you don't want someone wealthy or rich to treat you like you're less than. So, always act in a manner of reciprocity.
Well, I think people that, and I might get shit for this, from like low income backgrounds,
mm-hmm.
there's, and this is such a broad statement, but like it's hard to have a good relationship with money if you are always climbing out of a hole of debt.
Yes.
And when you start coming across people with wealth, you realize that they're leveraging money to their advantage. Mm-hmm. And money isn't inherently evil, but it allows you to do the things that you've always wanted to do mm-hmm. at a larger scale.
Just at a larger scale, yes. Mm-hmm.
And so it's creating people that came from similar backgrounds to model and share their personal relationships with money with those that could benefit from it. And I think when people leave those comments of like, why don't you go to low income areas? I think that's what they mean. It's just like maybe one aspect of what they mean of like, not only could they directly benefit from the financial help,
mm-hmm.
but they get to see someone that looks like them, that's
mm-hmm.
doing well, not only financially, but emotionally and mentally. And you become a role model to these people.
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of like something that I've actually been practicing at, looking at taking
And at the end of the day, Colby, this is your money. Do what you want to do with it, right? So like, no one can tell you how to spend your own money.
Yeah. So I think just taking a step at like what someone tells me and really assessing where maybe their statement may be coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I look at comments like that, I kind of think like, you just watched a 60-second video of good acts, and that's the first thing that come to mind. It's kind of like, holy shit, like how far gone are you?
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, it's just like, thanks for the engagement.
Yeah. So I just been trying to, self-assess and actually.
That's what we call whataboutism, right? It's just like you see something good. Well, what about these people?
Mm-hmm.
And what about that people?
Whataboutism. That's a good thing.
The EMT class like taught CPR to a group that was getting ready to open up their own shelter to the migrants. And regardless of your views of the migrants, there are people that will be like, well, what about the homeless people that have been here? And it's a never-ending game. It's just like, at the end of the day, if you feel like being generous, give back in whatever capacity you can, at whatever scale you can, and that's it. And you can do it behind closed doors and no one will ever know, which is fine, but do it for whatever reason you want to do it. But to impart judgment on other people that are trying to do good too, it's like, that doesn't go anywhere. That doesn't do any good.
Yeah, that's definitely not the right metric.
So what's your relationship with your mom now?
I don't want to villainize my mom, but it's not terrible. Well, maybe outside looking in, it's not terrible. Maybe from the outside looking in, it's terrible. But as far as I'm concerned, it's not terrible. We talk. It's just like we never had just like a mother to son type of relationship. At least I can't remember those memories.
I guess. Have you had conversations of like this that she's shared, like she's always wanted to and hasn't had the opportunity?
She shared with me. I asked her the question the other day, and she completely went off rails. Would you rather someone love you more, or would you rather to love someone else more? And she said that she wished her son loved her more. But yeah. So
it's a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's difficult for children to understand, and it's something that most children understand as they get older, because as you get older, you start accumulating adult responsibilities, and especially when when the kids become parents themselves, you start realizing some of the sacrifices that your parents or mom or dad had to go through in order to provide for you and create opportunities for you. And it is only then, sometimes that's too late, when the kids realize that. And so a common conversation I've had on previous episodes is like, as much as the kids want to be seen by their parents, the parents want to be seen by their kids. And when you come to that realization, just like you're doing for these strangers, you're initiating the first move. You're the helping hand. And so I know as a child, it's like, the parents should be the helping hand, right? But what if you've come to a point of acceptance of where things are at, and you continue to reach that helping hand and extend that helping hand, and whether they take your hand or not, that's a different story. But all you can do within your control is, let me try to foster some type of healthy relationship. And if nothing comes to that, nothing comes to that. But you can't say you never tried.
Yeah. I have over the recent time, I have tried. And I would say that it just hasn't gone anywhere. Like I always like to self-assess and see how it is that I'm showing up in one space versus how I'm showing up in other spaces. Like, dude, in the last maybe 6 months, I think I've faced the most humility I ever faced. In
what caused the humility?
Wanting to be the person that I want to be.
And okay, but what were some moments that humbled you? Wanting it is one thing, but as you pursued down that path, what happened that kind of put you in your paused some of that?
Well, one element was the relationship with my mom. My mentor actually helped me figure this out. The way I would instantly react to certain things my mom say wasn't I guess you could say appropriate. It wasn't appropriate. And so I had to realize that where my mom was coming from was not from the bad experiences that we have. Like she's tried to, I guess, not take responsibility for the pain she's caused and try to create a new space, but it's kind of like she can't create this new space without taking accountability for what has already happened. And so I had to realize that that's what she's trying to do, and that she's not, I guess, she's not trying to
cause more wounds.
Yeah, cause more wounds.
You know, in this path of self-mastery and self-help, you know, the Simon Sinek's and the Jordan B. Petersons, not everyone goes down that path. And so you get to a level where you're starting to leave people that are stuck in their old ways, and it could be your own loved ones, behind. Now, after a while, you come to realize that family will always be family, and you reach a level of acceptance despite how far behind they might be. And you'll never disregard the fact that they're family. However, your level of expectation of them is managed. You're not going to be expecting too much from them.
Right. Yeah,
But,
and I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that because, like, for example, with my mom, like, I accepted the fact that she was who she was a long time, or like the relationship was what it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Maybe when I first graduated high school, and I think just having a conversation with her, like, we actually sat down and had a conversation. Because I told her, like, I'm feeling X, Y, and Z. Can we figure out, you know, this? And so we was just in the car, you know, driving, and she was just, you know, kind of telling me, like, her whole story. Because in short form, she took care of my sister. Like, my sister was like the golden child, pretty much. Like, my sister, she's a nurse in college. No. She's a nurse. She graduated college, and she's a nurse in California now. So I love my sister, though. Yeah. So, but yeah, my sister, she was just like the golden child, I guess you could say. And so, like, a lot of the attention went towards my sister. And so,
Younger?
Older.
She's older?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Usually it's the
5 years older. She was like exceeded well in school and all of these types of things.
Sure.
And so, like, I guess over the course of being young and growing up, I always just questioned, like, why was that? Like, why was she the focused child? And so then just after having a conversation with my mom, was just like realizing, like, parents are only doing what they believe is the best for them at that moment. Like, they're making the best decisions.
They might have a different set of tools.
Yeah. And they're learning as they're going through life as well. It's like, I think a lot of children grow up with the idea of, like, my parents supposed to have it all figured out. But, like, as you grow up and you learn, it's like they don't have it all figured out. They're learning, you know, it's a learning experience for them as well. And so I think just understanding that helped alleviate some of the pain that was, you know, brought upon me, I guess, over the years. But
have you had candid conversations with your sister?
Reform the question.
Have you had open conversations with your sister about the dynamics between your mom and her, and your mom and you?
No, not necessarily, because fundamentally I understand that everybody is dealt a deck of cards. So, like, I guess it would kind of be I don't think ignorant is the right word, but it would be like something of me to go and ask my sister, like, why did you get, like, this X, Y, and Z of help? It's like she didn't, I guess, necessarily ask for it.
Instead of putting the weight on her, you can come from the perspective of yourself. Like, oh, I wish my relationship with mom was similar to your relationship with mom.
Yeah, but I think it's too far gone past that. I think.
I don't know. That's up to you, I think.
Yeah, I think. I don't.
And if anything, it might even just bring you and your sister close.
Yeah. So me and my sister, we're not too far. Like, we're close, actually. I think it's because we both understand that my mom is a hard person to deal with, even though she was, I guess like elevated up with, she had a better relationship with my mom, but still we both understand like how tedious and controlling I guess my mom could be. And so I think me and my sister have a understanding, mental understanding of just our relationship with our mom. And me and my sister, we actually talk. I love my sister. I love my sister. Yeah, we don't have a, I guess, bad relationship. We have a good relationship. But she be busy. I'll be busy. So I mean, we don't talk that much. But when we do talk, it be good talks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, it seems like you have a pretty solid chosen family.
Yeah. So it's one thing that I did want to talk about with, like, so Mama Carmen situation. So you have Barbara and Jeremy, which is the first two young ladies that I met, and then you have Mama Carmen, which is Jeremy's sister, but she raised Jeremy, so she's kind of like the mother of the, I guess, of the house. But Carmen has daughters of her own, and so we was in Dave and Buster's one day, I think, and I think I had like maybe like some loose change on me, and so I gave it to her daughter Louisa, and Carmen was like, I think when she seen that, she reacted and was kind of like angry in a sense, like, hey Louisa, did you, well, she didn't say it that nicely, but she was like, Louisa, did you ask for that? And I was like, no, Mama Carmen, she's fine, she didn't ask for it, I gave it to her. And but I seen Louisa's face, and it was kind of like daunting, I guess, in a way. And so I guess on the way back home, I told Mama Carmen, like, hey, you should apologize to Louisa because, like, she didn't initiate that. Like, I gave that to her pretty much. And so then we got in the house. Carmen apologized to her, that was great or whatnot. And then on the way home, I text Mama Carmen, was like, hey, today I wasn't trying to teach you how to be a parent, but I appreciate you, telling, apologizing to Louisa. I only can imagine how it feels to be blamed for something as a kid when it wasn't necessarily your fault. And the way she answered is kind of what I think everyone would want from a mom. And she said that she's still learning to be a parent, and that she was thankful for me to point that out. And yeah, it's kind of like,
yeah, I mean, taking accountability.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, a lot of parents, a lot of adults have this idea of like, you're not a parent, so I'm not going to take any advice from you. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, you wonder why your relationship with your kid is the way it is. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to bring that moment up of like the relationship that I have with Mama Carmen is fascinating.
So going back to like some of the troubled kids in the city, like, do you have any thoughts on how to help them feel seen or heard, because they're not getting love from the places where, inside their home maybe, and they're seeking it elsewhere?
I think the first thing you do is you understand that you are seeking validation because of X, Y, and Z. So fundamentally understanding why it is that you feel that way. I think that's step one. And then step two, seeing, okay, where it is that you want to project yourself towards. And then I think that makes it a little bit easier, because once you understand, in order to not be a victim of it, you have to understand it. And so fundamentally understanding your pain is step one. Step two is self-assessing, okay, what can I do about it? And then step three is incrementally taking a step towards whatever it is that you want to aim towards. Like, I want to be I wanted to always show up in conversations and actually take from the conversation instead of project my thoughts and my beliefs into the conversations. And that takes a lot of discipline and humility. And so over the course of the last 6 months, I've been taking on incremental amounts of discipline throughout every conversation. So I'll take a conversation and I'll look at it like, okay, how is it that I'm about to, whatever that it is that I'm about to say, how is it that I'm reacting emotionally? And then how is it that I'm reacting logically? And then, and so I've just been able to do that over the course of just conversations that's been happening. And it's served me well, actually.
So listening instead of like chiming in?
Yeah, listening instead of chiming in. It's kind of hard because a lot of people don't. I don't think a lot of people have that power to necessarily intellectually think about certain things. Like, I think intellect and intelligence is somewhat a natural talent for some people.
Well, I think there's got to be a need for it. And if people are comfortable in their life, there's no need to wake up per se.
What's been your
and some people are stuck in that victim narrative, but it's comfortable because change is uncomfortable.
Well, it's crazy because I've been facing this idea of kind of like if it's either better to stay in the victim aspect of your character or if it's better to take on responsibility.
Well, what's the definition of better? Because better to some means comfort, and it's going to be more comfortable to stay the same.
If it's more comfortable to stay, what's easier on a character or what's easier on a person?
To not change.
Yeah. So, no. I'm saying like what's easier for a person, I guess like mental state to keep them as far away from malevolence as possible. And I think it is staying in that comfortable spot of no change, because like what I've learned is it's kind of like you never get to, like, you ask the question of like how can people become comfortable and maintain, like how can I tell young people to do X, Y, and Z, but it's kind of hard because it's kind of like you never do get a chance to be, I guess, like necessarily heard, because it's like
at the same time, though, you know what?
Like,
Like I've come to a point where actions speak louder than words, and like I've said that before, but more so actually doing it and less talking, and that's why I hesitate when, and I'm not just saying you, but like when people just want to be a public speaker or motivational speaker, it's like I want to see people do rather than just talk about it, and so when you showcase these acts of generosity, it hopefully begets more generosity. That is being influential and having influence, but talking about it doesn't hold as much weight.
Well, I think it depends though, because you can have a conversation and still have as much impact.
And I guess it's also who are we talking to? Got to talk to the right audience, because some people aren't ready to hear it.
Yeah, some people. Yeah, that's true. I don't know, but like back to the question of like what advice could I give to younger people? I would say, I just want to just go back to that because I feel like I didn't give a clear answer. I would say just believe in yourself, honestly, and like depend on yourself. Don't try to like seek validation from like other people, because
yeah,
it's kind of like you don't necessarily win in the.
Oh, it's never ending.
Yeah, it's like you necessarily don't ever win. Like, for an example, you have to adopt so much discipline that it's kind of like it's overwhelming.
Well, you have to be unshakable.
Yeah, like it's so overwhelming because it's like, okay, I want to tell I want to tell my mom X, Y, and Z, right? Like our relationship is so bad. I want to sit there and, of course, I want to act out and go with like my first reaction of like anger towards her, because that's what I feel most comfortable with. But it's like, no, that's not the right metric. You gotta self-assess and you gotta answer. You gotta see how it is that you're showing up in this particular situation in the incorrect manner. Like, because I'm still.
Well, you're probably still working through it yourself.
I'm still working through it myself, and it's kind of like it's like you never really get to be seen or heard, because you still have to not downplay yourself, but you have to understand that you don't not know it all. It's kind of
well,
of
that
a
is
hard thing to
humility.
explain. Yeah.
Humility is understanding that you don't know it all. And if you were to take it one step further, we're all operating with a different set of tools. And initially, when you're on this path of self-mastery, it can be frustrating when especially your loved ones aren't on that same path. It's like, why isn't my mom? Why isn't my sibling wanting the best for themselves? And then, when you're on different paths, you don't have the same vocabulary to have the conversation that you're seeking to have. So then there's a disconnect, and it's frustrating. But after that, you come to a point of acceptance where they're on a different path. You understand that they're on a different path, and you might not be able to have the conversation you're trying to have. And so you might not get to a point where you have a relationship that is ideal. But because they're family, and everyone has a different opinion on the definition of family, but you come to a point where you'll never turn your back on them.
Yeah, and I guess I believe that as well. Because like I still want my mom to have her own business. She's good at like, so she was doing like catering, or not catering. She was doing like food tables and prom send-offs and like the decoration. So she's like an event planner type of person. And so I still want to get her to get her own business in that. And she also cooks really well too. So I want her to be an entrepreneur and for her to do what it is that she loved doing. Not to say that she's not doing it now. I mean, she's an event planner for some company downtown, but it's different working for someone than working for yourself. And so like I still like one of my long-term goals is still retiring my mom, no matter like how much.
Yeah.
Like,
I think most kids would agree with that.
Yeah. So.
But it's hard to want something for someone more than they want it for themselves.
More than they want it for themselves. Yeah. And that's I guess letting go is another thing that you should learn, just to learn how to let go and detach yourself from situations and certain people. Because I mean, I guess necessarily you don't have it all figured out either. And that's something that I have been trying to, I guess like master in a sense. I want to be the best version of myself. And so like I've been doing everything to get to that point.
So at this moment, how would you prioritize some of the things in your life? So if the categories are health, wellness, personal relationships, and then wealth. So let's say health. So do you like eat well, go to the gym? Wealth is business, so your work relationship, and then personal. So that could be family, mom, or partner, friends. How would you prioritize these things?
I think my business is first, because with my business comes everything else, pretty much.
But there's always work to be done, right?
Yeah, well, my business is a little bit different though, because it's not only just like giving back to random strangers. It's also the element of personal relationships get created in that space as well.
So there's some overlap.
Yeah, some overlap, and just like with my business comes everything pretty much. Like it comes, I guess, well, later down the line comes the money, and then right now comes the personal relationships that I build, and then yeah. So I think just my business is personally my focus. But outside of, like, let's say outside of my business, I guess like my mental state is, or not even just my mental state, I guess my articulation. I want to get better at putting my ideas into words and sentences. Because it's been something that's
It
been
comes to
hard.
time.
Yeah, it's been hard for me to do that. I think I got to start reading more.
Well, reading is consuming, right? That's the opposite of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, well, reading and writing.
So
yeah.
I think you're talking about building a vocabulary. Because something that, I mean, because that's how you become more articulate, is you have more words to draw from. And how do you have more words to draw from? By reading more.
Well, how you articulate yourself is, I don't think that's the right metric. Not like, I try to watch before I speak. I try to watch what it is that I say. I like to tread carefully with the words that I choose to use. And so I think I want to put my statements together more properly.
And that comes with practice.
Yes.
And so by speaking about these things more often, then it just comes with time.
Yeah. So from what you've seen, has your articulation, or I guess, has your conversational skills been better since you started the podcast?
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes. The thing I'm actively working on right now is holding eye contact when you're speaking.
Yeah. It's kind of something that I have a hard time with.
But you practice it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, what I found it easier actually is when I close my eyes, I'm actually able to grasp onto words.
Well, you have to define how you want to show up.
Yeah.
If that means keeping your eyes closed, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But when you want your presence to be felt in a room, like sometimes eye contact is part of that.
Yeah. What's been some of your favorite podcasts that you had?
So recently, that I've had,
Like if you could think of like the top 3 most memorable podcasts, what would it be?
Yeah. It's just not that every guest has brought a little knickknack, but some have, and I try to put those knickknacks on the shelf behind you. Man, one of the most recent ones, he wholesales Jardinera. But maybe we'll go, if you're free for lunch, maybe we'll go for lunch. But JP Graziano, his name's Jim Graziano, very, very wholesome individual, very pure. The guy that made that pin, the blue Repin pin, so he made that for my EMT class.
That's super dope.
That was his first company, but he has a coffee shop on the north side, and he helps people showcase their side projects. So his coffee shop is called Side Project, or Side Practice Coffee. And then the third one, I would say in the very back by the lightning bolt light, he was running for senator. So he is a physician. He has a 100% free clinic in Roscoe Village. You can't have insurance, Medicare, Medicaid. He has, as a private citizen, he put a bill into place that has the state pay up to $10,000 if you have a child that was a victim of gun violence for funeral and burial services. And then he wanted to put a grocery store in public high schools, and that was hard. So he actually bought a farm, and he donates his crops to the food depository, and it trickles down to the pantries.
That's super dope.
And the banks.
That's super dope.
So he is so good at identifying the root cause of an issue, whether that's food insecurity, gun violence, and experimenting with solutions. And when he finds a solution, he scales that solution. So Dr. Dave, one of the more profound episodes I've had recently.
That's super dope. That's what I want to be able to do. Learn how to fundamentally break down certain things. So I'm incrementally getting better at it.
Right? Because how do you stretch your dollar? Because, when you go to someone and pay for their gas or their groceries, like you're gonna you run out of that, right? And so when he donates crops from the very top, it has such a profound impact.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not monetary. Having the ability to write a bill and have other Congress people champion your bill so it gets passed,
it doesn't take a lot of money. It might take time to write and draft that bill.
Mm-hmm.
But the monetary effects, emotional effects, now someone doesn't have to cremate their child, and they can actually go visit them at a burial site to restore dignity to people. Who has $10,000 to bury their child, to bury anyone, when it was such a sudden loss? No one in this economy. And so, that ability to see what you can do even as a private citizen, that's probably my 2024 fear, or something I'm thinking about, is like, you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's constantly pursuing new things or new ideas and minimizing what's left on the table. So you've heard Colby say it, MJ say it. It's like, they left it all on the floor, right? So fulfilling your potential, and that's such a broad question of like, what is your potential?
Yeah.
And it's not for really anyone to answer. You might draw inspiration from other people, but it's something for yourself to define of like, what is my potential and how can I fulfill it? And I think that's a good way of aiming high.
Yeah. What are some, because I feel like the podcast is going like very off, well, I've been going very off center. What are some questions that you have curiosity to? I want to be able to answer them like, all out in a straight away.
Well, I mean, we've been going at it. This podcast is more about the person behind the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people go to your page, they do get a good idea of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is an opportunity for you to showcase who Colby is behind the brand.
Yeah.
And why does Colby do what Colby do?
Okay.
Right? So we have been talking about being generous for the sake of being generous, and trying to reignite compassion in the city and things like that through small or large acts. Not a big deal. I guess maybe some people are curious why, like, where you get your money from. So what's the day job?
So I was doing, back last year, I was doing like Uber Eats, and
Nice.
like Uber Eats was actually good until after like post COVID.
How many people eat their food before it gets there? How many Uber drivers eat the food? A little fry here and there.
I don't know. I ain't never ate no fry. I be seeing people doing like trolling videos where they go up to like the person and like they'll order like their own set of fries, and then they'll act like they're eating the customer fries.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen those.
Yeah. But so I was making like 40,000-50,000 a year from Uber
Okay,
Eats.
not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Just from Uber Eats, which is crazy.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was always good at saving up. So I was saving up over the course of my life. I've always been saving up since the course of my life.
Where did that mindset come from? Because most people are living paycheck to paycheck.
I think that came from my mom. She's she taught me survival instincts. So just like being able to survive on my own, pretty much. And so I think that where that particular element came from.
Why didn't you fall into the materialism trap of like, once you started making money, I'm gonna buy a nice hoodie, I'm gonna buy a nice suit, I'm gonna buy a car, I'm gonna upgrade my lifestyle? How did you not fall into that trap?
I don't know. I just
because most people do, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It never made me happy.
Okay, it can be that simple,
yeah.
because typically, and another broad stroke that I might get shit for, people that come from, and I'm a victim of this too, that come from low income, it's not necessarily low income, but buying things, whether it's clothes, cars, a home, shows the world that you've accomplished something. I'm going to get a Porsche one day, but because I like the feeling I get from driving a Porsche, not as a show of status. That all comes with that, but my primary motivation is because I enjoy the feeling behind the wheel. So I think most people, and it's not just low income, so I'm sorry whoever's listening, because so it's all levels of income, but falling into the trap of materialism you might do it for the wrong reasons. You might wear certain clothes for the wrong reasons, buy a bag for certain wrong reasons, because you want to show a status. And most people fall into that trap. And you're saying that you didn't because it didn't bring you joy. These things don't bring you joy.
Yeah, so I guess experimenting with it and then getting a feel for it. It's kind of like the idea of like imposter syndrome. So like, I guess some people you have to fall into the trap first, and then
I agree.
Figure out which way do you want to go. Do you want to keep going down this hole, or do you want to get out of it?
Yeah.
And so I think people have to go through that experience first.
And I think the act of buying something alleviates pain temporarily.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like just like add to cart. Right? It's like Colby, I literally bought my first car in my underwear on Carvana. So I signed the papers on my phone, and they even deliver it to you. Right?
Yeah.
It's that things like that are super easy these days. And it is a trap, and I think some people need to fall into that trap to understand what's truly important in their life.
Yeah, definitely. I think people have to go through that first, and then they'll be able to scale where it is that they want to go. But back to the question. So yeah, I just been saving from that, and then I got a job with Amplify, which is the program that I went through. And so like I'm a social media consultant because I actually build Instagram pages up for like before I did it as like an actual job and got contracted for it. It's what I've been doing like all my life. Like in high school, I was dating this young lady, and I think we got to like 32,000 followers on Instagram in like 6 months.
Doing what?
Couple stuff. We was doing like couples. So it was like a couples YouTube page.
Okay.
Pretty much. So yeah, I built that up, and then a few other pages up, and then just with mine. I mean, it was well.
So then, what have you
easiest.
learned? What have you learned promotes engagement and virality? How do you continue to build community and engagement?
Honestly, what I've did is looked at all of these other creators who stuff that I liked and just put it all into one company, pretty much.
Okay, so
Yeah,
like if you were to nail it down, what are some 3 to 5 things that have put you in that direction?
So I think assessing, finding out what it is that you want to do, and I'm still having a hard time figuring out like what you want your, I guess, niche to be. Second is you gotta, this is one thing that I learned, you gotta plan out your videos. Like you can't just go in and just like freestyle, because then it's like you create a lot of conflict in trying to do that with just yourself and your mental state. And then also getting other people perspectives on like, is this entertaining or not? Like, because some stuff, man, it's a lot of stuff is boring, or it may not even be boring, but just realizing that the click off rate right now with the state of the world is very, very fast. Like people, if you don't catch people attention in like the first 5 seconds, it's over with.
So what are some things within the first 5 seconds you're putting in there?
Well, I'm still trying to play around with mine, because I like at first I was doing like the whole emotional kind of.
Yeah, there's that one song.
Yeah. I was doing that, and then now I'm trying to also do kind of like a upbeat, like kids pop type of style. And so I don't know, I'm just playing around with a lot of different styles. But for other people, I would say you need something that's attention grabbing, and nothing that's like too formal. Like for example, what I did with Amplify page, their page was like super formal. It was kind of like everything they had into text form, and it's kind of like, who wants to be on social media and just be reading, right? Like that's what the website is for. And so what I've done is put everything that they had in text form into video form. And so like they're trying to figure out, so like they took a flyer, and so I took the flyer and I put that into video form and had somebody, I put it into script and had them and videoed them. And then I cut it up, throw some captions over it, maybe throw some pictures in there. Just to make it more appealing, you gotta, I don't know, you gotta make it appealing. like with I never thought I would have a YouTube intro, but I tested doing that out the other day, and it actually went really well. So like in like 20 seconds, I just had clips of like the vlogs that I've done, and I kept like the most interesting stuff in there. Then I just like have effects of like different types of effects. Like I have a film selection effect. I have an effect of like the video like flipping out and then flipping back in. The words going like in a wave line.
Yeah.
So just I think like switching up a lot of
Angles,
like angles, different like I guess effects, elements, and stuff like that is what keeps people attention, especially because the attention span is so low right now. So yeah, just keeping it super, super interesting. And so like what I've done with like my vlogs, what I think found as though helped. So Logan Paul and David Dobrik, they had like super dope vlogs when they used to do them, and it was like 4 minutes. And so within these 4 minutes, all they did was like literally, I think they maybe filmed for like a whole week, and just in 4 minutes, they just put the most interesting clips in there.
Yeah.
And so I did the same thing. And so like, but I wanted it to do 8 minutes so that I could get the monetization for it. So like I'll film like 2 hours with Mama Carmen and Yermi, and then just in 8 minutes, put in the most interesting clips, and just it'll keep cutting from like one situation to another situation. Like we can go from being in the house to being in Sky Zone, right? And so I mean, I guess I think it keeps the interest and it keeps the drive of it going, because if you have like, let's say if I uploaded a 20-minute video, people are more likely to click off of it. From what I've seen, people are more likely to click off of the video because one, it's either too long, or two, the details of it is too, like, no one cares about the details. It's kind of like having a conversation. One of the things I learned about having a conversation is a lot, like, keep the small details out of it. So like if I was to tell you about a situation or a memory, and I was to say, oh, the color of the car was red, and it was a Lexus, and da da da, like, you don't want to hear that. You just want to hear like what happened, like get to the point already, pretty much. And so I've just been using, I guess, emotional intelligence and other content creators' ideas and putting it into all one company, and it's been seemingly working. Yeah. So that's how
Are there what are some other video ideas that you're trying to come up with that maybe might not even involve money?
Well, we talked about it. We talked about the one where if you all don't know, Victor is gonna be on my board, and I'm actually happy to bring him on. It's gonna be super dope. Immeasurable Impact. It's gonna go so far. Man, it's gonna be, if not as big, then bigger than Mr. Beast's company. Hopefully, that's what I'm aiming towards. So like a lot of the video ideas that I want to do, I guess a lot of them do involve money, but some of the ones that we was talking about was like kind of like notes to random strangers. That's one. But I don't know. I always feel like I got to do like a charitable act with whatever it is that I do.
Doesn't have to be, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but like, what if charitable can be non-monetary? It can be like just bringing a smile to someone's face or helping them work through something emotionally. Like, it doesn't have to be just money.
Yeah. So I think the ones that doesn't consist of money was the note to random strangers, and then we were gonna do the other one, the photography one, where we go up to random strangers or like families and relationships and give them portraits of themselves, and then also the one with the sign of like, if you're feeling like X, Y, and Z, come sit down at the table, let's talk about it. So that's gonna be super dope. I'm actually intrigued to engage in those types of videos. It just hasn't been the right weather, I guess you could say.
Yeah, this morning I think I'm gonna come up with like 3 questions, and I'm going to just sit on like North Avenue Beach and no video. I'm just gonna have my 2 mics, my audio recorder, and a poster that says "Come record a podcast with me."
Now that's super dope. Now that's next level. That's some smart.
There's no video though, so it's just like the 3 questions could be, what are you scared of right now? What are you most excited about? And what would you want? I guess something like to bring joy to a stranger's face, or to a stranger. Like I'm working out the 3 questions right now, but it'll be a random day that I'm off, minimal like equipment, so
Mhm.
it's not a headache to lug around, and it's just going to be an audio episode,
Mhm.
depending on how many people want to come on. But I just want to talk to strangers.
That's gonna be dope. We gotta now. The start of it is it's a great idea, but I think what you should do maybe in the future when you have I guess a bigger team is put it into video form, because that's something new. I never heard of anyone doing like random podcasts at like random moments, like spontaneous podcasts. I've never seen that.
I don't know.
I think that could go actually super viral. That's actually a super good idea. You should actually do that.
I have come to the point of, because I've had a couple videos go viral, and it's a really cool feeling, but after it's plateaued, after that feeling has gone away, and you kind of start chasing it, but at the same time, you come to a point where you do it for the sake of doing it. So I continue to podcast because I enjoy talking to people in a long form capacity, and I'll make trailers for it. I'll put the clips out, but I'm not like, my primary goal is not to go viral. It's just to help share someone's message or someone's brand or someone's work that they're doing. That's it. And that's secondary to me personally meeting them, because I don't do my interviews online. And so first goal, meet interesting people. Second goal, share their work. Third goal, if it goes viral, it goes viral. But like, it's not something I'm pursuing.
Yeah. That's a lot of people don't know how to do that though, and that's nice that you know how to. I guess
it comes
not
after
go
time.
after, not go after.
Because it does feel good to be seen, right? But when you go viral, being seen, you're being seen by a bunch of strangers. And it's identifying whose validation you're seeking. Because when you do go viral, every time you open the Instagram app or TikTok, it's just a number. 10,000 people have seen your shit. Like, it's like, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It means something.
Means something, right?
But who do you really want to see your stuff? And it's identifying that, like, we're all seeking validation from who.
Yeah, I think I've actually been having problems with that. So I'm actually trying to get better and not letting, I guess, the numbers mess with my head, I guess, because actually some of the videos that I never thought would go viral is actually viral. Like it was this Five Below video, which is actually like my most viewed video. I think got like 1.8 million views, and like I didn't at all expect that one to go. Like I remember that day exactly. I didn't even have the energy to record, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just go ahead and put the camera the camera mount on. And so I put it on, went in, did that video, edited it, uploaded it. Next day it went viral. I was like, what the heck? Yeah. So it'd be the ones that you least expect. But back to my initial statement. Yeah, I've been having trouble with like
your main motivation.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily so, but it's kind of hard for me in my position, being a social media influencer. It's kind of hard to like, I guess not go after being viral.
I think you understand what virality and what a high follower count can bring you. I'm not denying that it can open doors. It can definitely open doors.
Yeah.
But that's all secondary to why you're doing this in the first place.
Yeah.
And if you maintain that perspective, it will help you persevere through the moments where you feel like giving up.
Yeah. And so, it do be those moments where I'll be like, dang, like
this one didn't go viral.
Yeah, this one didn't go viral. Or like, it'd be ones where like I have a great idea and it's like, oh, I know this one's gonna go viral, and that video go complete.
Yeah.
So it's like, damn.
And so it's just like, well, next? Then you have that feeling of like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, like, why am I doing this? And then, dude, I had that feeling so many times, man. It's like, is even all of this even worth it?
And that's why so many people give up.
Yeah.
It's because they initially did it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
How many people have said, I have a podcast, and how many people persevered and continued with that podcast? You do it for the sake of, you do anything for the sake of joy, right? It brings you mental stimulation. You feel good after doing it. and everything else. Those are all side perks to it, whether it's the relationships that come from it, any monetary things that come from it, business deals, virality, like that all comes after why you do it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, and I think another way to look at it is also, it's kind of one of these things that I learned from Jordan Peterson is, like to set a high aim, but don't set a too high that it's kind of like unobtainable, or like don't set it too high where if you don't obtain it, it's like a crushing disappointment to your structure.
Yeah, I think, yeah. And another way to put it is like it's important to have a vision and a goal, like a destination, because that's how you know that's how you know what direction to head off into, right? You're going in a certain direction. But oftentimes, the goal that you actually end up in is not exactly the same as what you intentionally planned out to achieve. And so it's having a direction, a destination, but having an open mind as to what that could actually look like at the end.
Yeah, and then incrementally, taking a step towards that.
There's always going to be another peak, right?
Yeah.
You get to one peak, and then you're like, oh, there's another one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I guess it's just super hard for me because I've grown Instagram pages over like I think I reached 19K this morning. I've grown Instagrams over 19K in faster times, and it's kind of like.
But social media is different. It's always different, right? And that's why eventually you need a website, a blog, something that is of your own, because God forbid Instagram goes down or another platform becomes popular and you've built up this following for what?
Yeah.
Right? So you a newsletter, an email newsletter where you can get people's emails and then you email them on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. This is what Colby's up to. This is the next video. This is the next project. This is the next fundraiser. That's what's important.
I just want to take this off.
Right?
Yeah, and that's why I'm happy about the because I got remember I asked you how to get my own broadcast channel. I actually finally got it on Instagram, and so I've been implementing like I guess like some of Jordan Peterson's like psychological practices in there, which actually a lot of people actually enjoy.
Good.
Yeah. So I'm glad I got to
now imagine that if that was your own newsletter.
Yeah.
Right? And imagine the number of people that aren't on Instagram that you could reach.
Yeah. I want to talk about I guess the goals for the company for a second.
Sure.
I got a lot of the goals that I want to talk about, which is so I got this idea about a measurable impact box. I think I talked to you about it, where I'll basically go and create these boxes, and they're kind of like mystery boxes, but inside the box it holds like it is essentially is like a activity box. And so in the activity box will contain a list of acts of kindness that you need to act out, and then also in the box will contain the tools needed to act out these random acts of kindness. And then like I guess what I want for all of the people that is included and who receive this box is monetary gain, I guess you could say, like I want them to gain some type of like money for completing this, and I guess that's just one way I want to engage with my audience more, or allow my audience to engage.
Monetary
more.
gain's tough. I think the people that want to do this do it because helping people feels good. And it reminded me of a book that my wife and I have. It's like a date book. So like everything's hidden behind a little scratcher. And before you scratch off, it tells you how long it's going to take, where it needs to be, outside, indoors, and the tools that are required. And so you know kind of what you're getting into before scratching it off. But when you scratch it off, it tells you what you have to do, and then it's a place for you to put an Instax photo. So you take a little photo and then you can like put it there.
Yeah.
And so that idea implemented as a book of ideas of like generosity and immeasurable impacts would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think I just always implement like the charitable aspect.
I'm not opposed to making money, but charity people do charity because it feels good to be charitable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think your audience would agree with that.
Yeah. And then also I add that element because that's what I've learned over just like having money. Like a lot of people say, can money make you happy? And I think it can, depends. Well, first it'll depend on like what you mean by happy, but moving on from that, I think it's about how you spend the money. And if you're spending it and sharing it with other people, then I think it can bring you some joy.
So I'm not the first to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Money is an amplifier.
Mm-hmm.
So it amplifies who you are as a person. So
Mm-hmm.
if you were a generous person without the money, you will be a generous person with the money.
Yeah. Yeah, like if I had, like let's say if I got $1 million donation, I would take like 950,000 of that money and probably put it all into making videos.
And if you haven't already, you're going to come across people with that kind of wealth.
Yeah.
But you have to be the person that they trust that can implement that $1 million in an appropriate way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a game plan, and you're not going to be ready by the time you meet these people.
Yeah.
So, in your downtime, on top of all the things you're already doing, you need to have a concrete plan, like an elevator pitch of like, if I had $1 million, this is how I would implement it.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be concrete. So if you were speaking to someone, because someone who's willing to part ways with $1 million
Mm-hmm.
is not going to easily part ways with $1 million.
Yeah.
They have to trust you, and trust is something that's hard to build and harder to rebuild.
Yeah. I agree. I'm actually with one of my other one of my other directors. Me and him are working on a way to approach different class set of people who may be willing to donate. And so like we got like 3 different classes that we're working on and trying to figure out, okay, how do we approach a person who we may be asking like $1,000 from? How do we approach a person we may ask 500 for or 5,000 for? So that's what I've been working on behind the scenes. Man, it's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I'm working on, man.
Yeah.
And it's hard because it's like I'm always like I'm by myself, but I mean it is an individual responsibility what I'm doing. But so my company is actually essentially I'm a social media influencer, but I want to run it through a nonprofit, which I am doing. And so my nonprofit is Immeasurable Outreach Foundation. And so I want to explain, I guess, the difference between the two. So Immeasurable Impact is just the positive influence of videos. And then Immeasurable Outreach Foundation is just the acts of kindness itself. And so my plan is to use Immeasurable Impact to fund Immeasurable Outreach Foundation through monetizing my social media platforms of Immeasurable Impact.
Well, that's just one revenue stream, right? Eventually you're going to have merch. Eventually you're going to have this book or mystery box that people are going to buy.
Well, so that's the thing. So my plan is to get famous on YouTube, pretty much. That's the goal. And so once I get famous on YouTube, then with that money, because I don't want to necessarily like, I don't think I want to have merch or like, I don't know. I want to be like the like, I don't want anybody to pay me for items or anything. Like with the Immeasurable Impact box, those are the idea plan was to like create maybe like 50 a month and then send those out to like people who like you'll have to take a survey for like receiving this box because it's going to be free. And then if you complete the box, then you'll receive X amount of money. So like it's like a random acts of kindness quest, and then you get you get compensated for it pretty much.
Yeah.
And so then like with like clothing, like I want to do, so me and this guy, it's called, Jesus, how did I forget what it's called? Basically, we're going to do this collaboration, and it says changing mindsets and unchanged environments. And then we're going to do a collaboration on the back. It's going to say it's beyond giving. And so my plan with that was to buy a lot of those hoodies and then give them out to strangers for
Colby's
free.
just the money tree.
Yeah.
He doesn't need no money. He's just giving it out.
Yeah, that's the plan. It's
Mr. Monopoly.
So that's the plan once I get, I guess, famous on YouTube, is to take most of all of the money well, mainly all the money from the YouTube videos and monetization, and use it to just give it back to random strangers in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the plan, man. I don't think people understand like how much money you can make from YouTube. Like YouTube,
Sure.
the money you can make from YouTube it's a lot. It's a lot of money, especially if you're consistently uploading and you have a lot of engagement and watch time. You make a lot of money. And so that's my plan, is to take these short form videos and to put them into bigger form videos. Like, for an example, I have a short form video idea of like, have you seen I think it was in Paris or England, where they took the basketball hoop and they threw the ball or they rolled the ball to a random stranger, and then they allowed them to shoot it, and then once they shoot it, the whole, like, I guess like all the friends just like jump on them and stuff. So I want to create that video, videos like that, where it's like little challenges that you got to do, and then you'll receive money. But I want to put that small form video into bigger form videos. And so like the bigger form video would be, so like I get a warehouse, right? And once I get this warehouse, I'm going to create tournaments and like game nights for families to come and compete and win money. Like everybody's going to win money, but some are, winners are going to win more than others. And so like I want to do like an extreme tag. I want to host like an extreme tag event. I want to host a soccer tournament, basketball tournament, a family game night, a family feud. I want to do like a wipeout series. Like I got so many video ideas that I want to put into practice and to play. And and that's another one of my videos, is creating like tournaments.
Like what if like you collab? There's a place in Lamont called The Forge.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an outdoor ropes course, with like zip lining, rock climbing, all that stuff, or like Six Flags Great America.
Yeah.
And you're collabing with them to make videos, and they're giving away tickets to Six Flags or tickets to The Forge.
Yep. And so that's why, and that's also another reason, that's also
because money doesn't grow on trees, Colby.
Yeah.
Don't hold yourself back with collabing with people that have money.
Yeah, and so that's another reason why I want to do. That's why another reason why I want to run my company as a nonprofit, because it'll be easier. Like once I got 501c3 status, it'll be easier for me to partner with these, branded companies, because I'm serving as an entity.
Well, it's a write-off for them.
Yeah, and it's also a write-off for them. Because I think a lot of like social media influencers try to do like these big partnerships with these companies, and they just can't, because they're not serving as an entity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do like stuff like that, host events at places that's already established, and then just paying for the tickets is pretty much,
You're not paying, they're paying.
What? Who pay the...
Six Flags is paying.
Oh, yeah. So, and see, this is why I need him on my board, because I don't know a lot of the back of the scenes. I just have the ideas and thoughts of, okay, I want to do X, Y, and Z. I just need a team to be like, okay, we're going to do it this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a lot of ideas, man.
Is there... we're approaching time, but is there anything else that you want the world to know about Immeasurable Impact or Colby? Like what is a level of expectation when they come across your organization, or even you as a person?
I guess to know that it's not for videos necessarily. Like it's never...
You're not doing this for videos.
Well, I can't say it's kind of that it wouldn't be truth to that, because it is. I mean, because essentially the reason.
But it's not the primary goal.
It's not the primary goal. Yeah, pretty much.
So what is then?
To create a space to create an environment of reciprocity, treating people as if.
But reciprocity kind of implies that they do good back to you. How about evoke generosity?
Yeah,
or selflessness.
Yeah, evoke generosity and influence for positive change.
I like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anything else? No, not necessarily. I don't know. I'm still learning. I want to be a psychologist. I want to do a lot of stuff, man.
Well, there is YouTube University.
University
might take a little longer than traditional school, but school and college is not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's not needed for everyone. You have to identify. A lot of this episode is along the premise of self-awareness, right? And I think someone has to do the work on themselves to identify what they want out of this life, and that may or may not need college. And once you have a direction in life, go after it. And no one's going to care about your work more than you care about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I would want the world to know. Like, you gotta want it more for yourself than anybody else want it. And that's another thing that I learned, that I actually do want it for myself more than everybody else wanted. Like, I started off with a business partner, but he like strayed away from it, I guess. And so like I stuck with it, and I mean it's working. I grew it's January, February, March. We're in March right now. April. In 4 months I grew 19,000 followers. So
nice.
It's just believe in yourself, and you got to be your own support, man, because it's everybody else trying to figure out their own life, so they can't just always put their attention all on you, because they're trying to figure out their own life. So that would be my last take.
Well, Colby, I've said it before. We'll say it again. You're doing great work in the city.
Thank you.
We're very lucky to have you. And I'm sure, even if it's not on your board, but there's a lot of people that are probably willing to help if you're open to that. Whether that's through an idea for a video, or whether that's through a donation, or even volunteering, right? There might be some capacity where you could use someone's physical labor in some capacity. I think it's always inspiring to see people be generous, selfless in the city, because I think the news portrays a lot of the negative things of the city, and it's nice to balance that out.
Yeah. And somebody actually from the UK donated $500 and said, he donated $500 to me, which was crazy. I was like, what the heck? And said he's going to fly here, and he wanted to help me out with a lot of stuff. So it's like I got a lot of people from all over.
And there's a lot of responsibility in that.
Yeah.
Right? When strangers, I think when I started projects like this, or photography, it's one thing, or let's say creating merch, it's one thing for your friends and family to support. When your friends and family like a video, or buy a hoodie, or hire you as a photographer, that's one thing. It's nice to have family and friends support you. But when strangers, like people that you don't know, validate your work, whether that's through a donation or engaging on your video, buying a hoodie, for some reason it just hits differently. And there's a level of responsibility with that. $500 is not chump change, right? So when someone donates that level of money, there's some pressure now. There's some pressure to continue to do good. How are you going to best use that $500 to make the most amount of impact possible?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good. You're doing good work. I'm proud of you.
Appreciate it.
Just keep going, and you have a lot of people rooting for you. Don't take it too seriously, in the sense of continue to do it because you're leaving an impact, if not just with the one person you're interacting with. It doesn't have to be, the 20,000 followers on social media. It's the person right then and there, even if you're making a video, but in the moment that you're making an impact with, and that's it. Just keep it simple. And then you make the next one. You just keep going.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Appreciate it, man. I appreciate the reassurance. I be needing it sometimes.
Anytime.
Even though I be telling myself, like, I'm good. I think to have those set up a foundation of people who actually want good for you is also another good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Find Colby if you love the episode, and we'll leave the links in the show notes. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next episode.
Yes,
Stay curious.
Sir.